The difference between city and well water, test your water. There is bacteria and algae that can be in well water.
Shayne McCarthy is the CEO of Tech4Health, a company focused on great water and great hydrogen products. He likes to remind those of us that will listen, if you do not filter your water, then you are the filter. If you've ever heard of alkaline water and wondered, you want to stay tuned. If you have never been concerned about drinking reverse osmosis filtered water, that's right, never been concerned, maybe you should be, you need to keep listening. If you have heard of molecular hydrogen, be it in a capsule that you add to your water or supplements you take that generate hydrogen in your gut, or drinking, breathing, absorbing hydrogen from a device that produces hydrogen gas, you want to listen to this entire episode.
There's 4 main ways of getting hydrogen. You can drink it, you can breathe it in, you can inhale it, you can get hydrogen-rich saline, which is, of course, only going to be at a clinical or hospital level, or you can bathe in it. And the reason you can bathe in it is...
Hi, my name is Chris Burris. I'm a longevity expert and the chief scientist at a lab focused on a longevity molecule. My primary focus is to help people live longer and better lives with science. Make sure to subscribe and share so you and your friends can live longer and better, so you and your friends can live beyond the norms.
Our next guest, Shayne McCarthy, was introduced to me by Anthony Kunkel. Anthony is an ultra-elite athlete and a fan of MyVitalC. If you follow me, you might remember that Anthony is a 2-time U.S. ultra-running athlete. He is one of the most analytical biohackers I know. He's constantly cycling on and off of different supplements and protocols to identify protocols that will move the needle for him, all while pushing his body to the absolute limit. In fact, the voicemail that Anthony sent to introduce Shayne and I was talking about how the combination of our products, hydrogen and the ESS60, along with his other protocols, of course, he has other protocols, is making him bulletproof to the point that he can do 30 miles in a day and then he'll go to sleep dead. He's like, I'm dead at the end of the day, but I'm waking up fine in the morning. So when he told me I needed to speak with our next guest, Shayne McCarthy, I hopped on a Google Meet right away. It was immediately clear that Shayne had a passion for health and knowledge that I needed to share with my audience. If you have ever heard of alkaline water and wondered, you want to stay tuned. If you have never been concerned about drinking reverse osmosis filtered water, that's right, never been concerned, maybe you should be, you need to keep listening. If you have heard of molecular hydrogen, be it in a capsule that you add to your water or supplements you take that generate hydrogen in your gut, or drinking, breathing, absorbing hydrogen from a device that produces hydrogen gas, you want to listen to this entire episode. Shayne is the CEO of Tech4Health, a company focused on great water and great hydrogen products. He likes to remind those of us that will listen, if you do not filter your water, then you are the filter. Shayne, thank you for joining us today.
Hey, thank you for having me, Chris. It's an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, we had really good riff going before, so I'm excited about this. I just want to share, you recently had a baby, right? I think that's so noteworthy.
Yeah, I did. I've got a 3-month-old son at home. And you're talking about Anthony being an elite runner. I may not be an elite runner, but I probably share the same energy levels at the end of the day with him.
Absolutely beat.
Yeah, ready for bed. And yeah, I've noticed with the MyVitalC in combination with the hydrogen water, my energy levels just in a couple days of taking your product have gone up significantly. I'm really impressed.
Wow. Well, yeah, I mean, it doesn't surprise me that Anthony's right. In your career, your initial focus was business and marketing, and now you're firmly in the health space.
Yes.
I believe that anyone who lands in the health space can really trace back to something about how they grew up that pushed them to have a fascination or to be passionate about health. If you think back to your past, like what or who do you think was that for you?
I can pinpoint that exactly, actually. In 2013, I was in a really bad ATV accident. I fractured my skull and got traumatic brain injury. I almost broke my C1, C2 vertebrae, which would have left me a quadriplegic breathing through a tube at best. And fortunately, I not only survived, 2 weeks to the day after my accident, I was actually playing baseball, which in retrospect, I probably should not have been doing. Because one bad mistake, one bad throw, and that's that. But I'm still here. And I do believe that, God, creator, higher power, the universe, however you want to perceive that, had a bigger plan for me. And so at the time, I had a focus on financial advice with a specialized in insurance. And my buddy had introduced me to a network marketing company that had this water machine. And I realized while I was in the hospital, okay, I like to lift heavy things up and put them down, but I'm not quite as healthy as I thought I was. And, higher resting heart rate and blood pressure. I was on Nexium, which is prescription heartburn medication. I was 27 years old. If I didn't take Nexium within a day or two, I've got debilitating heartburn. And while I was treating a symptom of things that were going on inside of me that I was ignoring, if I didn't take control of my health at that time, I was going to be back into the hospital quicker than I realized. And so that was my big aha personal moment where I changed my view on my health around.
Now, if you think back, even further back, I'd like to get to know a little bit more about you. Like, where'd you grow up? How'd you grow up? Was there anything as you were growing up that you could look back on and say, that has something to do with why I am in this health space?
Well, I'm a big believer that everything does happen for a reason, and life happens for you and not to you. Before my ATV accident, all I drank was milk, because I couldn't drink anything other than milk because it would give me really bad heartburn. I was passionate about playing sports and being active and stuff. But I was, like many people, kind of just on autopilot. I lived what I call the I'm fine mentality. I wasn't in the hospital dying, so I was fine. Yet I was on prescription heartburn medication. I had psoriasis in my scalp. I was getting sick every couple months, which has become normalized. But I certainly was not healthy. And so, from a young age, I've always realized that I have a purpose here. And it took me until I almost died to really, truly realize that purpose. I've always wanted to make a positive impact in this world and helping people with not only their water filtration, but helping recover from the damages that we've done from drinking bad water and eating bad food and breathing bad air. The value that that comes with that really helps me fulfill that purpose of making this world a better place.
Very cool. All right, let's get into let's dive into the water, pun intended. How would you compare, let's say, the water somebody in the city might get, like out of the faucet, versus typical well water, which maybe the phrase typical well water is so broad, there's nothing necessarily typical. And why do you think we need to be filtering water?
And that's a really good question. I'm glad that you referenced city water and well water, because a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm on well water, so I'm good." When was the last time you tested your well water? There's problems with both. With city water, I believe most places in the U.S. have fluoride in the water, which this week has been a good week with certain things that are happening, but.
That may be changing soon. Yes.
Yes, that may be changing soon. And I had this question asked to me earlier. Like, okay, what does that mean? Well, it's fantastic to be removing that from the water because I agree with it in dental. Like, if you want to use it for dental purposes, absolutely. But
just to be clear, we're talking about fluoride in the water that is in most municipalities added.
Yes, and the reason is because it's going to make your kids' teeth better, and it's just that is not a good enough excuse. I mean, when you go to the dentist and you get your fluoride and you swish it around and you spit it out, what do they tell you? Don't eat or drink for the next half hour. You know, that it's because you don't want to swallow that stuff.
Yeah.
But with water, people typically talk about a couple of things: chlorine, fluoride, maybe heavy metals. And a lot of people are waking up to forever chemicals and microplastics. What often gets overlooked are pesticides and herbicides, which is a big one, and that's going to affect both city and well water. And I say the biggest one is pharmaceuticals in the water, especially city water. But the average woman is on birth control, and only 10% of that pill is actually bioavailable and absorbing into the body, and so 90% of it is getting peed back into our water systems. Well, municipal water treatment systems don't have the ability to take that out, nor do they care. Municipal water treatment systems care about keeping your water free of bacteria and viruses so that you don't get sick. It's in business, as they call CYA, cover your ass. They're just trying to make sure that you don't get sick from their water so that can't come back on them. What else they put into it is a whole different story. You know, there's not only just chlorine now, there's chloramines, which is chlorine and ammonia, and that these are both very terrible for you, not only for drinking, but showering and bathing in. So, I mean, the difference between city and well water, test your water. You know, it's kind of like wanting to take a supplement. You should probably do some tests and see if you even need that supplement to begin with. And so definitely if you have well water, get your water tested so you can see if there's I see a lot of there is bacteria and algae that can be in well water. Manganese happens to be another heavy mineral found or element found in well water that can be problematic. But you're absolutely right that well water there's a broad spectrum when it comes to wells. So just make sure you test your water and know what's in it so that you aren't becoming the filter for that.
And is there a place that you could find a test? Like, what do you typically do? Just Google, water tester in my area, or what does that look like?
That's what I, if you can take it to a testing facility, and there's usually a testing facility within a reasonable distance from you. Most of the testing kits that you're going to get off of like Amazon and stuff are going to be very limited in what they test against, and inaccurate at that. And so take it to a proper water testing facility, and then make sure you see, check what they're actually testing against.
Yeah.
It's not limited to what they test against, but it'll give you some good markers to at least look at and give yourself an idea of whether or not you should have have filtration or not. And I hate to say it, it doesn't matter where you live, you need filtration. It's just it's the world that we live in. And if you can rely on the government to treat your water, or you can take it in your own hands. My recommendation is take it in your own hands. But I live in Vancouver, British Columbia. We're known for having the best water in the world. I always say, in comparison to what? Flint, Michigan? Yes, we have, sorry, everybody from Flint. Yes, we have better water than most places in the world, but we still have a lot of stuff in our water that a lot of people aren't paying attention to.
So a couple of things. I remember getting a water kind of demonstration where, well, one, I think a lot of people don't know this, and you can probably confirm, because I have confirmed this, that at least in Houston, and probably therefore it's very similar across most municipalities, the chlorination in Houston city water is appropriate pool water. right? Like if you take a pool tester and you do a chlorine test and you go out to your pool and it says it's the right yellow, let's say, I think it is yellow,
Yep, it's
and
yellow.
it's the right color of yellow because you have enough chlorine in it, and you go in and do the same test, it is a little bit lower, but it's still within the margin of error. Like Houston city water is perfect pool water in terms of how much chlorine is in it. So just a lot of people don't realize that. And then I do remember one other test that they did, the little chlorine strips, and they would have you swish around the water in your mouth and then spit it back into the cup. And then there was no chlorine in it. And their point is like, you absorb this chlorine very readily. Now, the scientist guy in me, I was like, well, there is one other possibility. It could be that the saliva interacts with this whatever. So I did, in fact, spit in a glass and it didn't make the chlorine go away. So it is actually being absorbed very readily. Like you're not doing a 20-minute swish. Like it's I don't know, 30 seconds or something. Have you done kind of both of those studies?
The same thing happens actually if you take your fingers and swish it around. So it'll absorb transdermally through your skin as well. And so that's becomes an issue obviously when you're showering and bathing. But your biggest issue when you're showering and bathing with chlorine is that when it gets turned into vapor, it gets turned into chloride, and then you breathe that in. And so, having a shower filter is one of the better things that you can do for that. But yeah, there's a very similar amount of chlorine in Vancouver, British Columbia, best water in the world. I've got customers in Atlanta. Atlanta has really, really chlorinated water. Like I think it's probably more chlorinated than pools. Yeah, and I mean, again, that's just one of many different things that you want to be taking out of your water before you ingest it, cook with it, bathe in it, shower in it, even washing your clothes. We don't really think about these things, but if you wash your clothes in tainted water, you got all these contaminants, and it's also why I would recommend going to a natural laundry detergent. But you wear your clothes all day. And your skin is your biggest organ. It's also your biggest detoxing organ. And so if you are wearing toxic-filled clothes all day long, you're going to start clogging these pores. You're not going to do it the first time you wear clothes. It's death by 1,000 cuts. This happens more and more and more over time. And then you add in other things that we also do that's unhealthy. It's just it compounds on itself, and it makes no surprise to me that a big focus right now is making America healthy again, because we are not healthy.
We are not. All right, so I put a note here to remind me, because you actually sent me a little care package. I got this. I want you, before you describe it, got the box that it comes in. The presentation is phenomenal. Like, well done, sir. I know
you.
all of that stuff. I know as a business owner, you belabor all of that, and you're like, is that the right color of blue, or should it be this other color of blue? And then you get it, and you're like, maybe it should. Yeah. So you go through all that. What is this that I'm holding up? And talk a little bit. I'm going to turn it on now because in 10 minutes, I'm going to take a drink. So I pushed it twice to get to 10 minutes, but now it's bubbling. Bubbles. Yep. What is this?
So that is the HydroBoost 6000 from Tech for Health, as you mentioned earlier, the company that I run. We brought that to the market because you can't go on Instagram or Facebook without getting some sort of hydrogen water bottle ad these days, especially after you listen to this podcast.
Yeah. Now it knows.
Like, oh, hey, there's like 2 or 3 great ones on the market. That's one of them. A few good ones and a lot of crappy ones. And that's to be expected in an emerging market. People want to come in and capitalize on the opportunity. I get it. But as someone that, again, wants to help make this world a better, healthier place, we've tested dozens out and came across this one for a number of different reasons that set it apart from others. It's called the HydroBoost 6000 because it'll create 6,000 parts per billion of hydrogen, which is a very therapeutic dose for that amount of water. It has a magnetic charger, where that is a big problem with a lot of the bottles out there. Is it's your typical C cable inserting charger. Well, the odds of you getting water inside that little port is pretty high. And so by having the magnetic charger, it eliminates that, and it really prolongs the lifetime of the hydrogen generator. And then on top of that, the sheath here is airplane like aluminum to keep the bottle from basically expanding to the point where it explodes, because this will pump so much hydrogen into the water that it will start expanding, and this prevents that. This is actually why, the bottle is made with German food grade plastic, and we're not a huge supporter of plastic. However, microplastics in general is actually a little misunderstood, and I can get to that in a second. But there's glass ones on the market that it's only a matter of time until it shatters because of the pressure of the gas that gets built up. So that's what this bottle is doing, is taking using proton exchange membrane and ionization to add hydrogen bubbles into the water, and that hydrogen gets dissolved into the water, and then it goes into your system and then helps you in the wonderful ways that hydrogen does. You know what? I'm going to make myself a bottle as well.
So I see a lot of little tiny bubbles, and then every now and then big bubbles.
The big bubbles, yep.
Is there right? Because I believe that you're electrolyzing water and breaking it into H2 and O. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Essentially,
it would be fascinating if like the big bubbles are O and the little bubbles are hydrogen, but I don't know if that's the case. It may just be a physical.
Actually, I can kind of answer that to you. There's a possibility that those are little oxygen bubbles. However, if that was the case, that they were oxygen, it would reverse the antioxidant effects of the hydrogen, and you wouldn't be getting 6,000 parts per billion like you do with this bottle. So they're just bigger bubbles that are created. You'll notice on the bottom of the bottle, there's a little. It almost looks like a little tiny screw, right? You see that, right? I've got it in there. It's just to the
there. I see it.
That's an oxygen and chlorine off-gassing port. And that's crucial that it has that. Otherwise, chlorine gas, oxygen, and the oxygen go right back into the water, not only, as mentioned, negating any hydrogen benefits, but also adding that chlorine gas in there, and you don't want that.
So you've got the membrane to either keep or move the oxygen off to that port. I did not realize that. That is pretty damn cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of bottles out there that will create the bubbles in it, so it makes you think that it's getting hydrogen. But that, again, that's the chlorine gas being created in the water.
All right, that's fascinating. I like the LED lights. It's got little fancy LED lights. I'm assuming you're not using any kind of ultraviolet light to decon. It's just
to make it look cool.
It looks very cool. We got 5 more minutes, and then I'll drink this because I have some more comments on that process. Let's get back. I wanted to get that started so that we'd be able to drink that. How long is the list of things that we should probably be filtering from our water? And you covered this. In fact, I'm going to skip this question because you really got it. It's fluorides, it's chlorine, it's hormones. Actually, it's
VOCs, benzene,
narcotics,
arsenic, OTC drugs, prescription drugs. PFOAs, PFAs, forever chemicals. It's not a short list.
Yeah. And just for the people who are like, because I'm sure there's some people out there like, really, what are hormones, what are narcotics doing in my water? Right, you just described it. A lot of the pill that women will take to prevent pregnancy, those are hormones. They're not all entirely absorbed, bioavailable and absorbed, and so they just get passed through in the urine. Same is true for anybody who's taking some sort of narcotic after a surgery. We don't even have to get into the illegal realm of things, but you're on a codeine. Some of that is going down the toilet, and then that water gets processed, and you kind kind of already mentioned, the goal is to make sure that the water doesn't kill you. The goal is not to get to pristine water. They're not doing reverse osmosis at these water treatment plants. I'm not even sure they're doing carbon filtering. Like, they're just getting sludge out, activated carbon filtering. They're just getting the sludge out and then putting in some chemicals to make sure there's no bacteria. Talk a little bit about, it sounds like you have some stuff to say. It looks like you have some stuff to say there.
It's the whole water treatment process. It's a big process, and then the water will actually sit in big vats, basically, and just sit there, basically dead, while it waits to go to your home. And then before it gets to your home, when was the last time that they made any sort of changes or improvements to the water mains that go from the water treatment facility to your home? And when was the last time you did any maintenance or water treatment to the pipes inside of your home? And there's the discussion on living water and dead water, and there's the angles of the pipes that it hits. It knocks the life out of the water by the time it gets to your home. But being in Texas, there's another big one. The pesticide atrazine it's very heavily prevalent in Texas water. And have you heard about the study with frogs with atrazine?
No.
They did a study with 40 frogs, 40 male frogs. And they put them in the water with less than an acceptable amount of atrazine in the water. And again, very common pesticide. 30 of the frogs were castrated, and 3 of them actually started producing fertile eggs, which is like insane to even think about. Like, I almost feel dumb saying that, because it's just like, that can't be real. You sound like Alex Jones, and I sadly look it up. One thing I tell a lot of people, because I say a lot of things that are new to people, especially when it comes to hydrogen, and I thought water already had hydrogen in it. It's I get it, but don't believe anything that I say. Research everything I say. Look it up. I want people to look this stuff up themselves. It's important that you do.
Do you have a link to that frog study on your website somewhere?
I don't, but I will add it.
Okay, yeah. So
I will add it. It was done, I think, 8 months ago, and so it's pretty prevalent in there. You might have to dig through Google, depending on whether they want you to see that study or not. It's just one of the many things that should make you think, maybe I should be taking a more serious look at this water that I'm drinking and bathing in, and providing myself a foundation for my overall health with, because our bodies are 70-75% water. If you're not paying attention to the hydration, you're not paying attention to the water that you drink, you can eat as healthy as you want, but you're not even taking care of half of the equation.
Hey, super quick break from the podcast. Hopefully you're loving it. This is a way you can support the podcast and take advantage of a great offer. We're offering 50% off of one of our MCT bottles. MCT is an amazing oil. Add the ESS 60 molecule to it. It's even more amazing. All you got to do is leave a review on iTunes, send us a notification that you've left that review. We'll get you a coupon code that'll get you 50% off of our MCT oil and free shipping. Back to the podcast.
It's amazingly important.
Absolutely. I mean, you could talk about eating your water, which a lot of people do, because yes, you do get hydration from some food like watermelon, but is that watermelon seedless? Because then it's very genetically modified, and I don't know if I would be trusting the water that you're eating from that now.
So my beeper just went off.
Yeah.
And we'll get back to the questions. Should I take this right away? Like, is there a time frame? What does that look like?
Great question. 100%. It's hydrogen water is best drank fresh. Think about it like soda water. If you open a can or a bottle of soda water and you let it sit there, it's going to lose its carbonation. Hydrogen, or H2, it's molecular hydrogen, is the smallest molecule known to man. And so it will escape way quicker than you would like it to. So that's why drink it once you know, and I mean, don't get me wrong, until you open this, it's going to keep that hydrogen in there. The bottle's designed for that. So you could create this, come back to it later on in the day. It's still going to open the same way that you're going to open. You're going to get that. Psh.
Yep. All right. Well, we're gonna get that right now.
Oh, there you go.
Wait. Is there any problem opening it while it's still producing gas? Is there any challenge with that? Does that matter? Or is there a way to turn it off?
If you open it while it's doing it, nothing's going to happen other than the hydrogen's going to escape very rapidly as those bubbles go to the top.
Right.
That lid is designed to make sure that it's airtight so that the hydrogen goes up and then stays in there so that it can dissolve into the water.
Okay.
But it does such a good job of creating that hydrogen that when you open, you get that psh sound, or in your case, if you don't have it all the way to the top, it'll create that suction.
Yeah.
You can a lot of times see some gas coming off, and that's exactly what you want from a properly done hydrogen bottle, and it's creating what's called super saturated hydrogen or hydrogen water. The most amount of hydrogen you can dissolve into water is 1.6 milligrams per liter, which with a 7 ounce or 230 ml bottle, which is what the HydroBoost 6000 is, and 6,000 parts per billion, you're at that level.
All right, just went off again. Here we go. Oops, I ended up opening it from the bottom.
Oh, yes, that can happen.
Yep.
But here, this is case in point why we have the magnetic charger, because sometimes that will happen, and if you get any water that leaks down on it, no worries.
So the user advice is grab it up here. Don't grab it here, because this actually
grab it from the
main body, and then I think that's great because you can actually screw bottles of water directly into this, right? As long as they have. So this actually comes off. It's great for cleaning. I'm gonna down mine like right away.
Same. Cheers.
And one of the things that I like is that it's actually not like a full bottle of water.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
you can how much it is. It's the right amount to down and not be too much, right? Because we know in general, once we crack the lid, it's on a clock for the hydrogen escaping, because hydrogen is such a small molecule that it can escape easily. All right, so we do that. Let's get back to our kind of water-focused questions. There's lots of things to filter, and I want to ask the next thing. So my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, is that like osmosis filters is the best filter. Like that's just how you get the best possible filtration. Is that correct, or how would you correct that statement?
No, that is correct. The good thing about reverse osmosis in distilled water is that you will purify the water when done properly. A lot of reverse osmosis systems on the market are sold as reverse osmosis, but aren't actually true reverse osmosis systems. But the bad thing about reverse osmosis in distilled water is also the good thing, is that they take everything out of the water, including the minerals. And this is a good opportunity for me to clear this up. A lot of people, it's becoming more common knowledge that having the minerals in the water is important, but not in terms of getting your daily dose of those minerals. That's not why you have minerals in the water. In order to get your daily dose of minerals, and minerals being calcium, magnesium, sodium, and potassium, electrolytes, you'd have to drink like 35 liters of water. It's not about that. It's about it's the foundation to the structure of the water. And similar to, if you don't filter your water, you become the filter for your water. If you don't have minerals in your water, you become the minerals for your water. And that is where it becomes a bad thing for reverse osmosis water. I can't tell you how many people I know that I've talked to that drink reverse osmosis 4 to 6 liters of water a day and are still chronically dehydrated. I don't get it because my pee's clear. Well, your pee shouldn't be clear. That's actually a sign that you're dehydrating your body. That's a sign that the water that you're drinking is going through your body. I mean, I drink 4 to 6 liters of water a day. Well, what if I told you it's not how much water you drink, it's what kind of water you drink?
Well,
right?
Yeah.
I can drink 2 of these 230 mil or 7-ounce bottles of water, of hydrogen-rich water, and be way more hydrated than someone drinking 4 to 6 liters of reverse osmosis water a day.
The reality is as pristine water is going through your system, it has this tendency to draw minerals. I mean, that's the same premise as the reverse osmosis filter, is like large volume and I'm probably describing it wrong, but the fact that you've got large volumes and that tends to absorb the minerals out of a lower volume. By the way, don't let me I will not do a dissertation on osmosis filter. I am not qualified, but I do have a picture of the concept. So your body starts throwing minerals into this pristine water as it's going through your system, and that actually ends up stripping out the minerals from your body.
I'll give you a different. I'll reframe it for you.
Yeah.
You know, when you have the waters at the very top of the mountains, and it's a pure, crystal clear water. When that water is running through those rocks and through the streams, it's pulling minerals from those rocks.
Yeah. Yep.
Similar is what's going on in your body.
Same process. In fact, one of the questions that I had is kind of earmarked for later, but I'll just throw it in now. There's a guy that I follow named Alex Hormozi. It's big. I mean, he created a company called Gym Launch, sold it for $42 million. He's blown up on the internet because he is in gyms. He's a super swole dude. And,
he's not small.
Yeah, and he's done a lot of obviously been in the health industry for so long. And he was talking one point about he used to be that gym rat running around with a bottle of water. And then you kind of in that circle know, well, hey, now I got to remineralize. So I've got to take some supplements to make up for the fact that I'm drinking so much water that I'm stripping minerals out of my body. And then at one point he woke up, he's like, well, why don't I just drink when I'm thirsty? Like I'm just going to drink when I'm thirsty, and then I'm not sucking minerals out of my body because of this kind of massive flow. I'm assuming that probably resonates with you.
Yeah, absolutely. But the problem with drinking when you're thirsty is your body can confuse you, because sometimes your hunger cues are actually just signs that you need more water. With that, I would, if you're remineralizing your water, keep in mind that if you remineralize reverse osmosis or distilled water, which is known as dead water because it takes the absolute life out of the water, it's like trying to use a defibrillator on a cadaver. It's just not. It's not gonna. You can throw all the minerals at it that you want. It's not going to take them in the way that you want them to. Now and then it then becomes, okay, how are you putting your minerals in it? Are you using Himalayan pink salt? Because now we're finding out that a lot of Himalayan pink salt's actually just garbage. I do recommend that, but I would add hydrogen before I add minerals to it, because the hydrogen is also going to allow for better delivery of the properly foundationally proven water.
Okay, so get the minerals in. So we could have put a pinch of high quality, not garbage, Himalayan salt. Good luck. Like, do the research.
Celtic salt is a good one.
Which one?
There's Celtic sea salt.
Okay.
And then there's also Aussie trace minerals. Or my favorite way of getting minerals from nature is actually through Irish sea moss.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, and I think I heard, I don't know if it was the Aussie Trace, but that there's some company that gets their salt from something that's isolated, so it can't have microplastics in it. It can't, it's a very isolated location. I don't remember the name off the top of my head.
I know Redmond Elite salt is a pretty popular one. You could use a good electrolyte drink as well. That's another good way of remineralizing your water. My favorite is Insalted. You've tried. Yeah, you were here at the booth beside him.
Yeah.
In Austin there. And for sea moss, I highly recommend a company called Survival Moss. They were to the right of me in Austin, and they freeze dry their Irish sea moss, so that actually keeps 97% of the of the good stuff in the sea moss, but preserves it for up to 25 years. and they sell an absolutely incredible product. That really cool story behind why they started the company too.
All right, so we've talked a little bit about your hydrogen bottle, which is the HydroBoost 6000, right? Because you can get 6,000 parts per
Per billion.
per billion of hydrogen H2.
Yep.
So what are the studies saying about hydrogen? Like, why are we having this discussion? Like, why? Like,
Yeah, I'm glad we're getting into why hydrogen to begin with. Because I realized that I'm like, okay, people still don't even realize why.
They've seen us operate it, and in my case, misoperate it. They've seen us drink it, but like, why would we even bother drinking it?
Your body is designed to create up to 10 liters of hydrogen every day. However, we've done a lot of damage to our guts with the food that we eat, the drinks that we drink, the air that we breathe, and so we're no longer creating that amount of hydrogen. In your body as an endogenous molecule, its job is to selectively scavenge the hydroxyl free radical. The hydroxyl radical is a byproduct of ATP production, which is the fuel to our cells. So hydroxyl radical is the exhaust to the energy being used. And what hydrogen will do is actually bond with the hydroxyl radicals and turn them into water. So that hydrates you at a cellular level and allows for an easy way for your body to now expel the now neutralized free radical. But more importantly to that is when you do that, you start reestablishing that balance that is meant to be in your body at a cellular level. From there, things like your NRF2 anti-inflammatory pathway opens up. Your body's glutathione, which is your master antioxidant, gets upregulated. NAC and NAD levels are upregulated, which are very important for your immune system. Mitochondrial function is upregulated, so you're going to have more energy and better cognitive function and better sleep. Your body reestablishes a balance that many people have lost, and then from there your body starts operating the way it should. I think a lot of us forget how powerful and incredible our human body is, and this is just helping it return back to the way it's supposed to work.
Okay, so key component is it's an antioxidant.
I say, sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah,
it's a selective antioxidant.
Yeah, and I was just going to add to that, right? Because we have some understanding that too much antioxidants, and actually, really, Chris Gethin is an influencer that has brought this to light. He's also a very swole dude. And has a great community and does body transformations for people from average Joe to he actually trains like a Bollywood movie star who by the way, when I mention his name, and my wife and I have some friends from India, and so when I mention his name, they're like, if you need a translator, like I'll come, like he's a big deal.
That's like legit, eh?
He's
Brad
a legit
Bollywood
star.
Yeah.
So he, and even really what brought this to light for me is he actually included our product in his presentation, because he's like, antioxidants good, too much bad, antioxidants that don't dampen the hormetic response really good. Right, and I have to believe that that's what's going on with hydrogen is that it is acting as an antioxidant, but it's not dampening those processes in the body that need to occur, like the hormetic response, which is the response that we would have when you're building muscles. Right, you strain the muscle. This hormetic response causes you to build muscle.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why even with things like cold dips, they don't recommend if you're trying to build muscle. Don't do a cold dip within 6 to 8 hours after your workout, because you're going to mitigate that hypertrophy or muscle growth. A lot of people that are just entering the hydrogen industry and business will say, oh, it's the most powerful antioxidant. I understand why they say that, but they're absolutely incorrect in saying that. It is a selective. It is, I would say, the most efficient. That's a better description word for it, because it is efficient in the way that it gets to places that other antioxidants and molecules can't, just simply due to the molecular structure of it. For example, there's 4 main ways of getting hydrogen. You can drink it, as we've already discussed. You can breathe it in. You can inhale it. You can get hydrogen-rich saline, which is, of course, only going to be at a clinical or hospital level, or you can bathe in it. And the reason you can bathe in it is because it permeates the skin membrane. If you, just like it'll permeate the blood-brain barrier, and so if you're using it as a therapy, then it depends on what you're trying to treat. If you're doing it for regular proactive upkeep and maintenance, drinking hydrogen-rich water is going to be your best option. But a lot of people actually do need the inhalation, the true hydrogen therapy, because of its ability to enter the body in a different way than through your digestive tract, like it does with water. And then, of course, bathing, if you're an athlete, unbelievable. But if you have maybe MS or fibromyalgia or restless legs, or you have a big time toxic overload that you need to clear up the pores and pathways for your body to actually help you detox properly, there's definitely a lot of applications for bathing in it too. So it's just, I guess that's one of the cool things about hydrogen, is there's so many different ways of doing it. Yeah. Even when you inhale it, you can ingest it, like inhale it through your eyes or through your ears. We had a really nice lady that gets chronic migraines, and 20 minutes of having hydrogen being absorbed through her eyes, she had a noticeable difference. And I said, why don't you do the eyes and the ears at the same time? Because with our machine you can. And so, this is someone that's tried everything, and she's seeing a noticeable difference pretty much immediately.
I wonder, my first thought there is like, well, just take this water and just hold it in your mouth, right? Because I can see if you think about, because in my mind, and actually if you know this, correct it. In my mind, it's just such a small molecule. We just drank the water, so it gets to some point in our gut, and these hydrogen molecules are just shooting out from it. It's not that they're getting into the bloodstream and getting carried somewhere else. They're just so small. They're shooting, and they are popping in and out of cells, and they're popping through mitochondria. And if they come across something that they're, that chemically works to bond with in terms of an oxidant, they do, and now they're stuck. Otherwise, they're just going out. Is that a reasonable kind of assessment? And I just have this concept because we know that it'll permeate if you were to put it in a plastic bottle. Like, there's no hydrogen left in 20 minutes or something.
Yeah, in less than a half an hour, it's gone. Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. Like you said, it's going to get into places that other antioxidants, anti-inflammatories, molecules just can't.
Maybe she could hold hydrogen water in her mouth, right?
Yep.
Absorb it through the eyes and the ears, and like maybe it's all.
Hey man, that's now you're thinking. I like it. That's the trifecta for migraine relief. But no, there is some. You're right. It should be able to absorb through your mouth before it even gets into. Just for the hydrogen with drinking water, actually, its first part of absorption into your body is actually through the liver. That's where your body starts to absorb the hydrogen. When you're doing inhalation, that is particularly good for obviously respiratory illness, but cardiovascular and neurological as well. Whereas drinking water is better for digestive issues, Crohn's, IBS, leaky gut, and things like that. And then, of course, the bathing is for everything external.
Yeah, I can see if that description's right, it's in your stomach, the molecules are just spreading out, then they're not getting to your extremities, right? Like, no. It's not that they're going through the bloodstream, and so that's where...
It's just being used before they even have a chance to get there.
And that's where, for athletes, bathing in it would make sense. So you have equipment to do all of this, right? Like, I think you have so hydrogen tablets. I think you have some.
I don't have hydrogen tablets yet. It really depends on when this episode's actually aired, because I have some being sent to me right now that I'm testing that I find very interesting. I know the person behind the creation of these tablets, and I know his reputation in the hydrogen industry, and it's legit. I mean, just like the bottles, you do have some tablets on the market that are just there to make some money. And when the hydrogen tablets are done wrong, then what you're going to end up with is basically just magnesium in your water, which is going to give you the old grumbly tumbly. And it's also going to make your water not palpable. It's going to give it a very earthy taste to it. Whereas, with when you have it from this bottle, it tastes delicious, and that's the way hydrogen water should taste. So no, I don't have hydrogen tablets yet. I would recommend this over tablets anyways. This is a one-time purchase. Should give you 3 to 5 years of lifetime. Whereas tablets, you're buying it, you get 30 tablets for, let's just say $50. But that's, if you're having one hydrogen water a day, that's 30 servings for you. Yeah. If you want, whereas this, I can do a 10 or 5 or 20 minute cycle anytime I want. And so can anybody else that wants to use it too. Yeah. So this is definitely a better option. Again, of course, if it's the right bottle and if it's done properly. Yeah. And then I have hydrogen ionizers, so that will filter your water and create alkaline and acidic waters. The alkaline water has hydrogen in it for you to drink on hand. But the product that I think is really going to lead the way in the next coming years is the Tech Pro 900. That is a hydrogen. We call it an inhalation machine, but it should be just called a hydrogen therapy machine. The reason being, it's got 8-in-1 uses. It takes distilled water and splits that into hydrogen and oxygen gas. So distilled water, double distilled water between 0 and 5 parts per million for total dissolved solids. It's just true H2O, hydrogen and oxygen. It will create 600 milliliters per minute of hydrogen gas to breathe in, and then 300 milliliters of oxygen. Or you can actually combine both of those and create oxyhydrogen gas or Brown's gas. So there's 3 of the uses right there. This machine will actually create such a high therapeutic amount that 2 people can use it and be getting over what is considered a therapeutic amount with just one machine. And then, but wait, there's more. It comes with some really cool accessories. Like I said, the goggles. There's earmuffs. So goggles, if you're cataracts, glaucoma, migraines, even just aesthetically for eye bags under your eyes. Ears, so if you have tinnitus or an ear infection, migraines. There's that way. Another way that I got to use the machine was I was doing squats and I hurt my lower back. I've had issues with my L5 and S1, and it wasn't serious, but I went home, laid right down on the couch, used the same cannula that I would put in my nose to breathe it in, and put it right on my lower back for half an hour. I was back at the gym the next morning. Wow. Which was pretty impressive. What I could have also done is bubbled that hydrogen gas into my bathtub and bathed in it. And it also, in that same respect, you can take that hydrogen gas and bubble it into just a regular glass of water, or even larger vessels of water. Like, it will make a super saturated amount of hydrogen water, 2 liters of it in 5 minutes. So it actually is creating hydrogen, properly saturated hydrogen water in a very rapid rate.
All right, so any risk, you got this equipment, it pumps out a great amount of hydrogen, some oxygen, you can do Brown's gas, which every time I do an interview, I have more homework to do, so I got to go do homework on Brown's gas. Because in our previous conversation, you were talking, or maybe in another interview, you were talking about the benefits of Brown's gas. But is there any concern, you connect this up, it's producing hydrogen, you're inhaling hydrogen, if you produce, it is true that if you were to produce enough hydrogen, you would displace air, and then that would be dangerous because you're not getting oxygen. Like how does that sit? And you said it could service 2 people at more than a standard therapeutic dose. So if one person takes all of that, is there any concern there?
No, because any hydrogen that your body doesn't want to use, it'll just expel it back out.
With the caveat of you just don't want to displace all the regular air.
True, but
Right.
that's not gonna happen. You're getting what in the therapeutic world is considered a large amount of hydrogen, but overall it's actually a very small amount. I mean, it's very similar with scuba diving, right? So they use up to between 2 to 4% for scuba diving, and that's to help prevent the compression. So it's similar to this. To answer another way I can answer your question is the timer on the machine will go up to 10 hours. You can sleep all night with the cannula in your nose and breathe it all night long. And that there are no recorded adverse effects to having too much hydrogen because of just the unique nature and the way that it enters and exits the body.
And I guess the other thing is, hydrogen is well known to be a flammable gas. I'm assuming there's no issue with flame, right? Like
it's again,
so that's a low volume.
It's a low volume. So it's 600 milliliters per minute. So you don't need to understand the milliliters per minute, but in studies, the inhalation studies, it's between 120 to 240 milliliters per minute. That is considered a therapeutic dose. So if you are 2 people splitting it, you're getting both 300 milliliters per minute, and that's well over.
And one of the things I promised in the introduction is a little bit of a discussion about alkaline water. And what's the value, if any? Why is there perceived value? Kind of give us some information on alkaline water.
Well, I've never had this question asked to me before. Just kidding. It happens like multiple times a day, and it's a very good question to ask because we've been sold on the benefits of alkaline water for years now. Alkaline water has one benefit to it. The pyloric valve, which is what allows water into your duodenum, which is where your water gets absorbed, is pH sensitive. So the alkalinity will open that sphincter or valve quicker for quicker absorption, which is great. It's better than maybe regular water. Is it doing what people think it's doing or are trying to achieve why they're drinking alkaline water? No, and most people are drinking alkaline water, and I get it because we live in a very acidic environment, and many North Americans have an acidic body. But let me ask you this: if you cut open an apple and let it sit there for half an hour, what happens?
Turns brown.
So drinking alkaline water without hydrogen in it is like cutting that sliver of brown apple off so you get fresh apple again. But if you don't change the environment in which the apple is in and you let it sit there for another half hour, it's just going to turn brown again. So you have to start looking at why. Why is the apple turning brown? Well, similar to why our bodies are acidic is related back to the overloaded amount of oxidative stress and our body's inability to handle that. That's why we've become more acidic. So that's why with hydrogen being the efficient antioxidant that it is, it helps you achieve what you're trying to achieve with alkaline water.
Because the acidic level is due to not managing the oxidative stress.
Yeah, you're getting to the root cause of why you're acidic in the first place.
That's okay. That makes a lot of sense. So alkaline water, not bad, not what it's billed to be.
100%.
And actually good, just not what it's billed to be.
Yeah, it's good. It depends on the alkaline water you're drinking. There's alkalized water that's alkaline, that's created alkaline electronically or electrically. You can drink that. No problem. It's not going to mess with your body's pH because that isn't even a buffering alkaline substance. Meaning you can put a couple of drops of lemon juice in your electrically ionized alkalized water, and it's just going to go right back to an acidic pH from the lemon. Okay. But if you add calcium, magnesium, a lot of people will add sodium bicarbonate or baking soda. Those are buffering alkaline substances. So that's actually just going to make your body or your stomach create more acid to keep up with that. Again, our bodies are very, very intelligent vehicles, and it will regulate whatever it is that's coming into your stomach. And your stomach's already a pH of 1.8. Having it create more hydrochloric acid to keep up with the buffering alkaline water that you're putting in is going to create problems over time. So it's not bad. It's not good. It's just not doing what people think it's doing.
So I feel like we could continue to talk about water for hours. I mean, because there's a lot of rabbit holes I chose not to go down just because of awareness of time.
Yeah.
We are at our wrap-up questions. We are a longevity podcast. So my first wrap-up question is, do you, Shayne, have a target age that you want to live to?
In reality, I believe I can live to. I believe I'll live to about 120.
120?
Yeah.
Excellent. And how long do you believe humans can live?
Well, I believe 150 is actually what used to in different eras. What people should be able to live to. Actually, it's funny that you asked me this. My wife sent me a meme earlier saying that we think middle age is 50, but our age expectancy, and this is gross, is 76 years old. So your middle age is 38. I'm 38. I'm like, why are you sending this to me?
I don't want this.
This meme doesn't apply to me though, because I'm going to live a lot longer than that because I'm, as they say, living beyond the norm.
Yeah, love it. Love it. All right. What are 2 to 3 protocols, habits, mindsets? Let's call them shortcuts because everybody loves shortcuts to longevity and a long health span that you would share.
I can wrap it up with one, but go within. I think that's a big problem that we experience in our society as a collective is we look externally for a lot of our answers. And I'm not saying that external tools like a good hydrogen water bottle isn't going to help, but you got to go within. I'm as above, so below, or as within, so without. I believe that our answers are within. So in saying that, talk yourself into, convince yourself to do a cold shower or cold dips. Find it in yourself to invest in red light therapy. First things first, though, no matter what health direction you want to go, make sure you have properly filtered water. And then if we can add some hydrogen into that, that's going to make your life a lot better after.
So your 3 would really, and you kind of threw in some freebies, but yours would be like go within, right? Filtered water and then hydrogen water.
Yes.
I think that's fair. What are 1 to 2 things people get absolutely wrong regarding longevity and a long health span?
I was thinking about this one, and I've put a lot of thought into this lately, and it's people relying on their genetics, thinking that everything, what happened to their prior generations is going to happen to them. And you see this a lot with people, especially now with like Alzheimer's or dementia. People, my grandparents got it, so I'll probably get it. And we underestimate the power of our mind, the power of our subconscious mind, and so people, not only relying or writing their sentence based on their genetics, it's relying on other outside sources to tell you. Again, it kind of circles back to the go within, but don't be a victim to your genetics. We live in a beautiful time where where there's biohackers and people reprogramming their bodies in such a beautiful way that yes, genetics can and do make an impact, but it's not the end all be all. Don't give up on yourself.
Awesome. Shayne, how can people contact you?
The best way to do that would be to go to www.tech4health.ca. That's TECH, the number 4 health.ca. I am based in Canada, so we have Canadian pricing. Or you can find me on Instagram. My handle is at H2 Water Expert. So H2 as in molecular hydrogen water expert. And you can check the Tech for Health out on YouTube. We have a podcast called The Water Guys, where we've covered a few different subjects.
Excellent. And what in the near future are you excited about?
Personally, seeing how this actually works out with the hydrogen water, as our good friend Anthony swears by now. And in just a couple days of using it, I have very good reason to be excited.
That's very cool. Also, you're probably excited about getting sleep since you have a new
what is that? I don't know. I have no idea what that is anymore. That's a foreign word.
I remember it once. All right. You can find Shayne McCarthy at Tech for Health. That's TECH, the number 4 health.ca. He is in Canada. Don't forget that. I almost sounded like a Canadian, I think, when I said that.
Oh, yeah, you're in Canada, hey?
Next, IG. Follow him. H2 Water Expert. That's the hydrogen molecule. H2 Water Expert. He's got a podcast, The Water Guys. Shayne, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Chris. I really appreciate this. This has been absolutely phenomenal, and I look forward to a follow-up with me, you, and Anthony.
Oh, that's going to be great.
Yeah, buddy.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Live Beyond the Norms podcast. Make sure to subscribe and follow. Also, make sure not to be that guy, the guy sharing this podcast with people who are not interested in living beyond the norms. If you would like to learn more about the ESS60 molecule, the molecule responsible for the single longest longevity experimental result on mammals in history, a full 90% extension of life, visit myvitalc.com. That's myvitalc as in carbon.com.